Clio, light blue with red livery down the side alongside the grey. Caterham with the orange rollover hoop, and that gives you the colours on the first few rows of the grid. I'll give you row 4. It's white with a big red apple on it in the hands of the Honeybones, and alongside is the largely red and black and white Honda that sits alongside. 5 seconds are on the clock. 5-second board is held aloft, 45 minutes are on the clock. Red lights are about to come on as they do now, and as they go out, it is a slow start from the Lotus of Alan Bull. Gets a little bit crowded further back down through the order, not surprising with that many cars trying to get going at the same time, but it is going to be Steve Summers that leads the way, and quite considerably by the time they get towards the first corner, from the Honda, I think it was, of Paul McHugh and William Heslop that were there in second place.
Yeah, Ben Grucock got a great start, so too did John Lynn from 10th place on the grid. He knows he has to make up some positions there, and as they made their way up towards Wilson now, it is still Steve Summers leading the way ahead of Adrian Pottinger then, and then it's almost too wide all the way throughout Noah's Ark, 2 by 2 through Wilson.
Yep, so they all safely have negotiated Wilson. The tail end of the queue is only just starting to come out of that right-hand hairpin now, but Steve Summers is starting to break away in the lead of the race from the Honda of Paul McHugh and William Heslop that are there in second position. It looks as though third place Adrian Pottinger is going to retake third place there from the fast-starting Ben Grucock at the wheel of the Caterham. Has he got the inside line? Yes, he's gone through, and also the Lotus of Alan Bull is trying to follow through as well and sneak up the inside of the Caterham, and that's going in towards the left-hand kink at Hamilton. Can he make it through? Yes, he can. So the Lotus picks up another place, and despite the good start from Ben Grucock, he's now being picked off by at least a couple of cars, and he's got another one queuing on his coattails as well, which will be the Renault Clio of Jordan Honeybone.
Yeah, it was a good start as well from the team Revihar, Paul McHugh and William Heslop shared car, because they're now up into second place. They got themselves ahead now of Adrian Pottinger as they made their way through on towards Williams, now getting away on towards the Bentley Straight for the first time in this race, and then we size up Brundle and Nelson then, as we'll briefly see our leaders on the cameras then heading their way now up towards Nelson. Still, it is the number 3 machine, Steve Summers, in that Data Motorsport car leading the way as cars make their way now onwards through the bomb hole then. Second place in the race right now is the 39 Paul McHugh and William Heslop, and then it's Adrian Pottinger rounding off the top 3.
Yeah, I was just having a look at what was going on further back down through the order, and it looks as though again Ben Grucock at the wheel of his Caterham was having to stick his elbows out. I think he was trying to keep another car behind.
All battle for third place, but there's a spinner. That's Alan Bull who's around then. Was there contact made between Adrian Pottinger and the 138 of Alan Bull? Well, he manages to get back underway, but he's lost a lot of momentum and he'll lose a lot of positions in that one there. We might be able to see, was there any door-to-door going through there, but of course the little Lotus coming out very much second best in that battle.
Yeah, some scrapes down the sill of Adrian Pottinger's car. I'm not sure whether that was there before or whether he was in the same position as where Alan Bull was. That certainly helps a few other cars, because it now also means that Jordan Honeybone moves up into 4th place, gains 3 places on that lap. We've got David Alexander's car now. That was the car that was given a grid drop, the black Lotus Elise, carving its way back up through the order. It started 5 places further back than it ought to have done, is now up to 5th already. And also John Lyne, the reigning champion, the number 71 BMW picked out, had got a good start, up to 7th from 10th on the grid. Yeah,
he needed that start. Pretty unfortunately lacklustre qualifying from him to qualify in 10th place, but he's got the right step forward, at least the right foot forward, and got himself now up into 7th place as we watch on then with still Steve Summers leading the way, and it's the McHugh Heslop shared machine in 2nd place, and then it's Jordan Honeybone in the number 44 in 3rd place. He started that car in 7th.
Yeah, so good first lap from Jordan, knows his circuit well. The family base just down the road, as is the family business, the Apple Car Centre, and he'll be looking to see whether he can haul that car right up onto the coattails of Adrian Pottinger at all, if he can begin to close in ever more as they head along the Bentley Straight. And he's not that far away actually from Adrian Pottinger. Lots of dust being raised on the exit of Ocky suggests that the odd little car is running wide, so again they just need to be careful and stay within the confines of the circuit. The dust cloud tells you they've gone behind the white line, that's for sure.
Yeah, you get one for free, don't you? Yep. Where you don't get any warning whatsoever. The second one is the black and white warning flag, meaning the next time you exceed track limits you do get a 5-second time penalty, so you've got to watch out for that. And of course the new regulations coming in on the 1st of June for many drivers, this will be the first time they'll have experienced these regulations.
Yep, so yeah, you need to throw away the old rule book and revise on the new one, and drivers tend not to like reading things. They tend to ask lots of questions when they get to the circuit. Well, it's all in the final regulations. Over the start finish line, Steve Summers leads the way. It is the Paul McHugh and William Heslop Honda that's there in second place. Jordan Honeybone in third place, now ahead of Adrian Pottinger, who's dropped down into fourth, and Jordan Honeybone set the fastest lap of the race as well, 2 minutes 13.991. That was the best part of second and a half quicker than the Honda ahead of him, and is the best part of 0.6 of a second quicker than the race leader.
Yeah, great stuff indeed. As I was just seeing there, John Lyons having to defend hard from the number 70 shared car of Robertson Heath going in towards Riches. He's trying to hang on to 7th place now. He qualified 10th, now he's up into 7th place. It looks like he's trying to hang on to that position as well.
Yeah, so that's the Justin Robertson Michael Heath Honda Civic then that is giving our reigning champion a few things to think about. The overall race leaders, though, are just turning their way through Agostini. Twas ever the Lotus Elise Series 1 of Steve Summers that leads the way, but Jordan Honeybone is edging ever closer to the coattails of the second place Honda Civic of Paul McHugh and William Heslop, who share that car. So it's a car that's running at the front, but we didn't get the starting driver for that car. And you can see that Jordan Honeybone is now looking to see whether he can try anything. He's not going to do anything on the exit of Oggies, which means the run towards Williams again, he will just hold fire and sit behind. But in a straight line, does the VTEC powered Honda have more than the Renault that sits behind? We're about to find out as the speeds build as they head along the Bentley Straight, and Jordan Honeybone is picking up the slipstream from the Honda. The gap is closing, but not by enough. By the time they head down in towards a braking effort, Brundle and Nelson, it's still going to be Honda ahead of Renault for second and for third. Yeah,
and it's it's been a really good start from Jordan Honeybone, though. Take nothing away from his race start, having to start that car in 7th place. He's now brought it up to the podium battle, really, as now drivers make their way through in towards the bomb hole, with Jordan Honeybone still onto the back then of the shared car McHugh Heslop then.
Oh, and is that a big moment? That car in second place is going to go around. It's all on the grass at the exit of Coram. It's going to try and shortcut and rallycross its way back onto the exit of Murray's. And where's it going to come out? It can't have gained an advantage over Jordan Honeybone, and I would say the amount of daylight between Honda and Renault Clio is about what it was, but the Honda's going to have very grassy tyres, and I think Jordan Honeybone is just going to squeeze his way through. Is he when the time to get towards Ritchie's corner? Yes, he does. So Jordan Honeybone now up into second. Good job that grass was dry, otherwise the Honda was going to end up in Suffolk.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think it was a case as well for the McHugh Heslop shared Honda that he might have just backed out, lifted off going in towards Riches there to allow Honeybone to get the position.
Making sure he didn't gain an advantage.
Exactly that, making sure he made it clear to the clerk of the course, I didn't gain an advantage, I promise.
So that's exactly what I would have done as well, but now I think the Honda is slowing ever more because Adrian Pottinger has gone through as well on the run out of the Wilson hairpin and up towards Palmer. Has it? No, it hasn't by the look of things. No, I thought it had. No, apologies. So the order does still remain the same. It is still Steve Summers from Jordan Honeybone from the recovering Honda, and then it is going to be Adrian Pottinger, who is coming under increasing attack actually now from the Black Lotus in the hands of David Alexander.
Yeah, absolutely, and Alexander at the moment just trying to turn up that wick, really, trying to apply that pressure. He's still setting faster lap times, 4/10 quicker than Pottinger on that last lap, who in turn Pottinger set his personal best of the race, and that was still 4/10 slower than David Alexander. So at the moment then Alexander's doing a good job.
You know, David Alexander's been racing Hondas for a good number of years now, partnered up with Jonathan Mee, whose name I associate with racing older type Honda Integras, if memory serves me correctly. So down the Bentley Straight through Brundle and Nelson will go our race leader. Lead advantage was 2.3 seconds between Steve Summers and the Honda last time as it came over the start-finish line, but it's going to be nothing like that, and it's now Jordan Honeybone that is looking to try and close in on the race leader. So again, he was so much quicker than Steve Summers last time through, Jordan Honeybone. He was 0.4 of a second quicker than the race leader, but this time through, look at the gap. The the Renault Clio is applying huge amounts of pressure to that light blue Lotus Elise in the hands of Steve Summers, who, remember, is already a race winner because he won at Silverstone at the beginning of the season on the national circuit. So here they come over the start-finish line. Lap 4 about to be completed. Lotus from Renault, from Honda, that's the top 3.
I'm interested to see what Jordan Honeybone's last lap time was. Well, I'm not surprised. It's the fastest lap of the race, 2:13.682, and he's cut that gap down now to 0.75 seconds. Remarkable lap from him. He's taken almost 2 seconds out of Steve Summers' lead there, so he's really on the charge at the moment.
He certainly is, and he's getting ever closer to the Lotus as they turn their way through the Wilson hairpin and start to propel themselves very slightly uphill towards the left-hander at Palmer, but it's still Steve Summers, the championship leader, that leads the way at the moment. For how much longer is the big question, though, because Jordan Honeybone hasn't taken him long to get there. Now what he wants to try and do is unlock the door to the lead of the race, if at all he can. We've got Rob Gamble just coming back out of the pit lane at the wheel of his BMW 1 Series, so he has pitted before the pit stop window, so he'll have to come back in again to serve a mandatory pit stop at some stage, and we're still about 5 minutes away from that pit window opening. But the lead battle just heading round through Hamilton.
Yeah, it is indeed, as Steve Summers still in the lead of this one, heading our way in towards Oggies, but the fastest car out on track, Jordan Honeybone, started that car in 7th as they make their way now through in towards Williams and taking away on towards the Bentley Straight and holding the fastest lap of the race to boot as well, heading our way on towards the back straight towards Brundle and Murray's. It's just a case now of Steve Summers can hold on there. We'll have a look at his lap times from, let's see if they're consistently in the 2:15s, because his best lap time is a second better than what he achieved on the last lap. So whether it's a case of trying to keep the vitals cool, the tyres cool at this point of the stint, it's working in the favour of Jordan Honeybone, whatever the strategy for Steve Summers is.
So they're about to reappear into sight up towards the bomb hole and Coram very, very shortly. Still the light blue Lotus leads the way, but Jordan Honeybone looking as though he had good momentum coming out of the bomb hole. Is he going to try and sweep his way around the outside at Coram? Yes, he is, which gives him the inside line for Murray's. The Lotus is a bit lighter, so she'll break later, but Jordan Honeybone has got the job done, and on the way into Murray's has picked up the lead of the race. Can he hang on to it on the way out, or has he compromised his exit speed? No, Jordan Honeybone leads the way. Steve Summers down into second place, but back into full attack mode again as they head over the start-finish line. Jordan Honeybone leads the way and is already about a quarter of a second up the road. Good little fight going on for 4th and 5th as well, and that is Adrian Pottinger fighting away with the Black Lotus of David Alexander.
Yeah, through they go in towards Riches then as they make their way up towards Wilson. Is there a way through here for David Alexander to try and find a way past Adrian Pottinger? Top 3 go through Wilson now, and then following them through at the moment. No, David Alexander still able to put up that pressure, but Adrian Pottinger just withstanding it for now as they head their way on towards Palmer, and if anything that was a little bit of an advantage gain for Adrian Pottinger. Lead battle now making their way through in towards Agostini, and Jordan Honeybone still leading that way at the moment, making our way back onto the power, and this might be a chance as well for that shared car, Paul McHugh and William Heslop in that Honda, in that Team Revija machine, making their way through. There's a chance to try and catch the lead if the top 2 still keep squabbling like they are.
Yeah, it's not that far away, is he? He's only 1 1/4 seconds shy of Steve Summers. And of course Steve Summers is hot on the heels of Jordan Honeybone. So those 3 cars just heading along the Bentley Straight. Let's pick up on the other leaders at the moment, because of course all the cars at the sharp end are all in Class B. You have to look down to 10th position to find a car that's not in Class B. So leading Class C at the moment is car number 112, which is Stuart Donovan's Toyota Celica. That's important for him because he's 4th in the overall standings and has already won his class on the 2 previous outings, so he's leading it again here. And leading Class D at this stage is the number 38 Ford Fiesta that started in 17th position, something like that on the grid. That is Henry Wright and Kevin Glover's car. So those are your respective class leaders.
And racing's now making their way through in towards Coram now, with Jordan Honeybone still in the lead of this one, and Steve Summers making his way through, trying to keep up and keep that pressure up as well in these hot conditions. Turning up the heat even more as we make our way on towards the Senna Straight to complete another lap, and that's another lap on the books then, as David Alexander looks like he has got a way past, and he has. The number 20 goes through, so David Alexander moves up a position, and he moves up to 4th place ahead of Adrian Pottinger then.
Yeah, so Pottinger losing a place, and Steve Summers was in full attack mode again coming over the start-finish line and was really closing up onto the coattails of Jordan Honeybone, but Jordan Honeybone still just managing to hang on to the lead of the race. There's a stacked break from the Honda further back in third place. That's Paul McHugh and William Heslop one. There's also another good little fight going on as well between Charlie Polk and John Lyne, so that's the light blue Honda attacking the light blue BMW as they head up towards Ritchie's Corner. Our Class C leading car has gone through, which is Stuart Donovan. And where is the Class D leading Ford Fiesta? That's just gone through as well and heads up towards Ritchie's Corner, car number 38. So our class leaders still remain the same.
Absolutely, and just seems like a third place car then. McHugh and Heslop, the shared car, in a bit of a race of its own at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if David Alexander, now having a bit of free air, is able to try and close up on the Honda Civic ahead of him. They now head their way through in towards Oggies, and that would be a battle for the podium because he's already putting a gap then from Adrian Pottinger as he got the move done last lap. Through in towards Williams he goes, and on towards the Bentley straight as we get a black and white warning flag for the number 12. That's the Pro-Am racing car. That is the Renault Clio out there, the number 12. Jack Kemp behind the wheel.
Yeah, so that's the first track warnings flag that we've had go out in this one. The race leading pair working their way through Brundle and Nelson. Steve Summers has not given up his aspirations to try and retake the lead of the race away from the Apple Car Centre Renault Clio in the hands of Jordan Honeybone. The gap that you say we need to keep our eye on is the gap between the third place Honda and the fourth place All Black Lotus. That was 3.588 seconds as they came over the start finish line, so we'll have to have a look and see as to whether David Alexander has been able to close that, and I think he has. I think that gap is a little more than just over 2 seconds now, so I think he's taken certainly a second, if not nearly 1.5 out. We're side by side for the lead of the race once more though. Steve Summers to driver's left of Jordan Honeybone. He's on the left hand side of the circuit. That's the outside line for Ritchie's. The brake lights come on first on the Lotus, second on the Renault Clio, so it's still Jordan Honeybone that hangs on to the lead of the race. And as for the gap between third and fourth, I said it was 3.588, it's now down to 1.313.
Yeah, and fastest lap of the race going to Steve Summers as well, 2:13.479, and that's compared to Jordan Honeybone, who got a 2:13.561. So they are very much matched for pace at this point in the race, as once again we see Charlie Polk try and have a look down the inside there of John Lynn, but no way through that time either.
Into the pit lane and retirement this time for Rob Gamble. I did say he was in the pits earlier on. Well, he's come back into the pit lane, and the BMW 1 Series, I'm afraid to say, is now heading back into the paddock area, so that is a retiree, and I think probably that's the first visit of the race that we've had so far, because everything I think largely has gone to plan for most, other than Dean Hyde,
yeah,
who you just spotted as well.
Yeah, the Tyler Motorsport car wheeled its way and it coasted up, and they managed to push it just underneath our commentary box position. And well, they had the engine up, they're having a check of it, but yeah, the check that the tow bar is there is not a good sign. No,
so they are going to be out of this race, I'm afraid. As for our race leaders, well, they will be on lap number 8 at the moment. Steve Summers starting to apply that pressure again to Jordan Honeybone, and they are absolutely nose to tail this time as they go through Brundle and Nelson. Nothing to choose between the pair of them. We have still got at the moment the Honda sitting there in third position, but David Alexander has edged ever closer to him at the wheel of his little Lotus. So it's Renault being attacked by Lotus for the lead of the race. It's Honda being attacked by Lotus for the final podium spot at the moment. And are we anywhere near the pit stop window opening? Yes, we are. The pit stop window is open because we are now 27 minutes remaining on the clock. Have we got any takers this time? Not from the leading pair. They are still going to continue their squabble as they come over the start-finish line. Steve Summers edging up towards the coattails of the Renault, and it also looks as though David Alexander is not giving up as yet, pushing the Honda of Paul McHugh and William Heslop around the circuit. That battle will still continue, and he's drawn himself alongside the Honda this time. Left-hand side, outside line for Ritchie's Corner. Is he brave enough to make it stick around the outside? No, thinks better of it.
Yeah, that time around, as we make our way out of Ritchie's up towards Wilson, but it's very much the message is clear from David Alexander. He wants to get that position, he wants to get up to third place overall, and as they head their way up towards Wilson, yeah, that slight hesitation to try and go round the outside in towards Ritchie's there cost him a bit of momentum, and he's going to have to work a little bit, maybe half a lap more, to try and catch back up to the back of that McHugh-Heslop shared Honda.
Yeah, maybe just thinking back to what happened at the previous round when they were carrying a grid penalty into this one, so they qualified 4th and dropped 9th, so probably just wants to keep his nose clean in this one so they don't pick up any further conversations that need to occur with the clerk of the course. So those two absolutely still rooted together. However, Steve Summers in second place seems to have fallen away a little bit now from the Renault Clio of Jordan Honeybone, so there is now a gap first to second as they head out of Oggies.
Yeah, there is, and I wonder if it's just close to the pit window. It's close to bringing the car in. Maybe that's the best chance the car has of cooling down as well, is when it's in the pit lane. All the vitals have a chance to cool down. Yes, you have to get the tyres and the brakes back up to temperature once you're out there, but things like the water temperature, the oil temperature, you have a chance to regulate that in the pit window just by staying still. So we'll see what happens there to Steve Summers.
More cars with black and white warning flags, one of which is the number 120 BMW of Sam Pearce, and it's another BMW that's also picking up a warning as well. Car number 71, which is the reigning champion John Lyne, picks up a warning flag as well with regards to circuit limits. So just need to make sure now that they stay where they are. What else have you got?
89, Adrian Pottinger also got a track limits warning as well earlier on. So that was the black and white flag as well. So a couple of cars, or more importantly, it's a couple of cars getting themselves a black and white warning flag because it's all applied to the car rather than the driver. So if the driver change happens and the new driver exceed track limits once, they get a 5-second penalty if they've already seen the black and white flag. So they've got to be careful once they take over that car. But for Adrian Pottinger, meanwhile, in the 89, he's got himself a black and white warning flag. He's the only driver in that car, so he's just got to remind himself, keep it within the white lines.
David Alexander is in from 4th position, so he's clearly now thought he's getting held up by that pesky little Honda that sits ahead of him. So he is pulled into the pit lane to hand the car over to Jonathan Mee. We've also got James Howells in the pit lane, ready to hand over the Renault Clio to James Baxter. That car just leaves the pit lane now, and I also spotted that Ben Cox Caterham was in the pit lane. I think he has rejoined the circuit. Down towards the bottom section of the pit lane as well. If I also crane my neck, I can see further cars have made their way in as well. We'll try and pick up on whose those are.
As we are approaching just under 24 minutes left of this race to run, Jordan Honeybone has just set his personal best lap of the race ahead of Steve Summers, and that gap is around just under 0.4 of a second at the moment. Third place then overall is that shared car McHugh-Heslop, and with the shared car Alexander Mee, that's David Alexander now handing over to Jonathan Mee in that number 20. So Jonathan Mee will take the reins, go back out there and see if he can do a job of putting in some solid lap times to see if they can get ahead of that Honda.
John Dundee comes into the pit lane and has already vacated it. There's another Mazda that's just pulled its way into the pit lane, which I think is car number 66, Jack Hargreaves. The Horny Golds come into the pit lane as well at the wheel of their MGZR. And I think there was another Ginetta that came in as well. Indeed there was. That is Peter Dilnut's car, the number 55 car. You were talking about that fastest lap time that Jordan Honeybone had done for the fastest lap he's done in the car so far. That is only 51 thousandths of a second, 56 thousandths of a second slower than Steve Summers. So go to show that it works, doesn't it? It's power to weight ratio, two very different cars, but the power to weight ratio works.
Yeah, it is, and if you can get yourself that track position, it becomes very, very important. Of course, the Clio, a bigger car than Summers' Lotus Elise, and it can have an easier time of defending. The only problem is that the Elise is going to be more agile through the corners.
And because on a warm day it's perhaps that little bit lighter on its tyres, because it's a lighter curb weight, then maybe there won't be quite as much drop off. Into the pit lane comes the Paul McHugh and William Heslop shared Honda Civic, so that is driver change taking place now. I cannot offer up any possibilities to who's jumping in and who's jumping out. However, what I can do is tell you they're sharing driving gloves by the look of things, are they?
I would not want to go anywhere near those.
No, they're not.
Okay, thank goodness for that.
I'm just having a look.
I was going to say, if you're sharing gloves at a race like this, no thanks.
I'd rather share gloves than a crash helmet on a warm day like this.
No, okay, fair point. Fair point.
More cars heading for the pit lane. It looks as though Charlie Polk is in, so that's to hand the car over to Mark Russell. That's the light blue Renault Clio. We have also got number 12 coming in. That's one of the cars that was picking up the warning with regards to track limits. Jack Kemp to hand over to Louis Harvey. And we have also got in another car, which is going to be one of the Lotus, which is Alan Ball is in. So his car that had that spin, as you alluded to earlier on in the race, trying to work its way back up through the order. He's now in the pits as well.
1, 2, 4 starting to leave the pit lane then, so the Hornigolds have made their driver change, so Robert Hornigold hands over now to Ashley Hornigold in their MG ZR.
Wayne Cockrell comes in at the wheel of one of 2 or 3 Toyota Celicas we've got in the field. Oliver Owen heads back out of the pit lane at the wheel of the number 182 Renault Clio, so it's a fairly busy pit lane at the moment, but the first car that we've got out there that has stopped will be probably just outside of the top 10 at the moment. We've still got probably 50% of the field still as yet to pit. Jordan Honeybone, of course, being one of them, and he is now continuing to lead, and it's opening up the margin. It's 1.7 seconds that Jordan Honeybone leads by, and he's going to not pit this time through. Continuing back over the start-finish line goes our race leader.
Yeah, and I wonder if Jordan Honeybone's going to try and stay in that car as long as possible, as we've got a car in.
Steve Summers is in, so Steve Summers is in from second position now, the light blue Lotus, following a couple of Ginettas down the pit lane. 2 Ginettas that he was chasing down the pit lane was the number 69 car, which is Paul Murphy, and also the number 76 car which dives in, which is John Wood, but the important one that's in is Steve Summers at this stage, and also Adrian Pottinger is in as well. So cars that lined up on the front row of the grid both come into the pit lane at the same time. Steve Summers in the Lotus, Adrian Pottinger at the wheel of his Renault Clio.
Yep, absolutely, and we see then a track limits warning going up to the number 6. That's the Brian Chandler Motorsport Mazda MX-5. Colin Wells has got himself a black and white warning flag for track limits.
So that's is that the purple and silver one, is it, Colin Wells? I can't remember. Brian Chandler Motorsport run a few different cars.
Yeah, I think it's the purple and grey Mazda MX-5.
Purple and grey one, yeah. So I couldn't quite remember which one it was. So
there's that Celica, which you said yesterday was involved in that testing calamity earlier, or yesterday. That's the 21, the Aindale Racing Toyota Celica. Wayne Cockrell behind the wheel there. They've done a great job, the team, of rebuilding, as you were alluding to earlier this morning.
Yeah, absolutely, because of poor old Mick Breslin's brake failure, and yeah, as the Celica was turning in towards the Wilson hairpin, the poor old Lotus, which had no brakes, just clattered into the side of it. No fault of anybody, it was just one of those things. John Lyne is in, so the reigning champion is into the pit lane as well. We have not as yet seen Jordan Honeybone dive for the pit lane. Up to second now is also car number 97, which is Dave Connell at the wheel of the Scuderia Dave Mazda MX-5, and Alistair Eastham at the wheel of his MX-5, number 16, is now up into third place at this stage, but none of those 3 have pitted as yet. Are we going to see our race leader pit this time through? Because that looks like that is Jordan Honeybone in the Apple Car Centre Renault Clio, just coming round through Murray's, and I think he's in this time, is he? No, he's not. He's still continuing round, so Jordan Honeybone still continues to lead, and end of this lap he needs to be in though, doesn't he, because there's 18 minutes to go, so pit window will still be open at the end of this lap, but if he doesn't come in, it would be closed by the lap after that.
It is this time he will have to pit in then to make sure he pits within the pit window to hand over to another Honeybone out there in Ray Honeybone, who will take over that car. Of course, Ray Honeybone's had a full race today already in this scorching heat, so he knows what it's like out there. He gets to less than half of a race this time around.
Well, no, because he only completed one lap and retired, didn't he? He retired earlier, yeah, unfortunately. So John Lyne back out of the pit lane. We've also got number 172 out, which is Toyota GT86 of Lee Forrington. He heads out of the pit lane. Also out of the pit lane goes Stuart Donovan at the wheel of the Toyota Celica. We've also got BMWs in the pit lane. I think the Class D leading car is in as well. So this is Henry Wright and Kevin Glover's Class D leading number 38 Ford Fiesta is in the pit lane. It's just about to conclude its pit stop now and trundle its way back down the pit lane. So once we've cycled through all of the pit stops, we'll run you through the top 10 and pick out the class leaders once more.
Yeah, once the pit window has come to a close, all the cars have made their pit stops, as we have top 3 still yet to make a stop. But you've got the number 3 car, Steve Summers, running in 4th at the moment, has made a stop. Track limit warning, I assume. Yes, it is a track limit warning for the number 79. That's Alex Baldwin in that Ford Fiesta. So he's got himself a track limit warning for the car.
Yeah, so again, just needs to be careful, needs to stay within the confines of the circuit. Are we going to see our race leader come in at the end of this lap? We have seen Dave Connell come in, so the Mazda MX-5 heads for the pit lane, but we haven't as yet seen Jordan Honeybone come in, and he should be appearing into sight very shortly. Back into the pit lane comes Alan Bull at the wheel of the Lotus Series 1, so that's his second pit stop, so that's clearly an issue for his car, but the race leader is just turning his way through Murray's now, and Jordan Honeybone surely must dive for the pit lane at the end of this lap. Let's just have a quick look. Craig in my neck. Yep, into the pit lane comes the race leader, so Jordan Honeybone about to jump out of the car and hand it over to Dad.
Yep, Ray Honeybone. We'll be hoping that he has a bit better luck this time around then. He only managed to, as you said, get 2 laps in the previous race.
I tell you what, that's Ray that's pointing him into the pit stop, and Ray has not got his overalls on, so Jordan's going solo.
Well, there we go then. So Jordan Honeybone has left it till the last moment to perform the mandatory pit stop. Of course, then minimum of 120 seconds in the pit lane from pit entry to pit exit, and you get as close to 2 minutes as you dare. If you go under though, that's a big penalty coming your way.
Yeah, and at the moment, I think for all of the pit stop times that we've seen coming up on our screen so far, all of the ones that I can see on the screen currently displayed are all the correct side of the line. So it looks as though everybody has timed it correctly, with a bit of contingency in there for some. Some are a little bit close, but most are fine. One of the best ones, and I do like looking to see who's so close to the line, because you cannot be in the pit lane area for anything less than 2 minutes. How about 2 minutes 0.766 seconds? And that's the number 70 Honda of Justin Roberts and Michael Heath. Time to perfection. Three quarters of a second the right side of the line.
Oh, great stuff. It's great stuff. Black flag going out then to the number 76, John Wood, that Ginetta. So he's been summoned to the pit lane then, and I'll be curious to know why he's been brought in, because it's not a mechanical, so that's a car being brought in for a reason other than mechanical, it seems.
Yeah, I really don't know. Pit window is now closed, so matters not. I think every car has either completed its pit stop or is in the process of completing its pit stop. Jordan Honeybone is about to be waved back out onto the circuit very shortly by Father Ray, and as he heads towards the pit lane exit, you can see Steve Summers is only now just turning his way round through Coram at the wheel of the light blue Lotus. So Jordan Honeybone breaks the beam at the end of the pit lane, and 2 minutes and 3 seconds, 0.006. So that again is the right side of the line, and it does mean that the Renault Clio will pick up the lead of the race still.
No, in fact, that's John Dundee, because look at this, Honeybone's there. There's the 2.0.
Oh, it is, yeah, 2 minutes 0.2. Yeah, you're right. No.
Again, another one timed to perfection.
Yeah, well, they've been around it long enough, haven't they, the Honeybones, to get it right. So.
They have indeed. But those seconds they picked up against Steve Summers are vital as well. I wonder if when Steve Summers comes through, which he has, I mean, that's nearly 7 seconds they gain in the pit stop alone.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, isn't it? So perfect stuff from them. What have we got left? About 13 minutes of the race to go. We'll let this next lap go through, and then we'll run you down through the order and pick up on the class leaders, albeit I don't think we've had a change of class lead. We might have had a change of class lead in class D potentially, but we'll wait until the next lap through to run you through the top 10 and pick up on those class leaders. But there's no doubt about who's leading. Jordan Honeybone still.
Yeah, and doing a fine job at it as well, making sure that the job can be wrapped up. 12.5 minutes left on the clock, and yeah, there was great teamwork from the Apple Car Centre team. They got 7 seconds in the pit lane by being as close to 2 minutes as possible. It's quite remarkable. You know, you need to run as close to 2 minutes as possible to get the best out of the race. And whilst you say it's a minimum of 120 seconds, you might think, oh well, if everyone's doing 2 minute pit stops, what's the point of them? Well, this is the point, because you want to get as close as you can so that you lose the least amount of time coming out of the pit lane. And in this case, the Honeybones have got 7 seconds just from the stop.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you travel down the whole length of the Snetterton pit lane at the pit lane speed limit, that takes you 18 seconds here to do that. But of course, you know, you can't just add 18 seconds. You have to take 18 seconds off the 2 minutes, but then it's the time to accelerate and decelerate as well. You know, you've got to account for all of that. And if you've been doing it long enough, you know roughly from when the car comes to a complete halt to when it gets going again. That's the minimum period that you need. If you do any shorter than that, you know you're going to be doing one of two things. You're either braking the pit lane speed limit, or you are not stationary for the correct amount of time, as the case may be. Over the start finish line now come then. Let's run you through the order. Number 44, Jordan Honeybone, leads the way at this stage. Second place is the number 3 Lotus in the hands of Steve Summers as he just comes over the start finish line now. The lead advantage between Renault and Lotus is almost 11 seconds. Number 89, Adrian Pottinger with his Renault Clio is sitting there in 3rd position, and 4th place will be that Honda that was going so well in the early stages. Paul McHugh and William Heslop sit there in 4th place. 5th place is the Caterham, that's number 2 of Ben Grucock. 6th place is going to be the number 70 Honda that also absolutely nailed the pit stop correctly. Michael Heath and Justin Roberts. John Line, number 71, is in 7th place, and in 8th place, this is the first of the non-Class B cars now, it's the leader of Class C that's in 8th place, which is car number 112, which is Stuart Donovan. 9th place is Charlie Polk and Mark Russell with their number 88 Renault Clio, and 10th place is number 12 Renault Clio that Jack Kemp starting is now in the hands of Louis Harvey. So that gives you the top 10, which means there's only one car that is outside of the top 10 that's a class leader, and that class lead is still now going the way of the Ford Fiesta, the number 38 car, and that is the car that is shared by Henry Wright and Kevin Glover, so that is back in the lead of Class D.
Yeah, and I'm just having a look there. Adrian Pottinger has got himself back up to 3rd place then, so back onto the podium after a tough start. So I think he'll be happy with that one. And the Heslop McHugh shared car, the Honda Civic, now in 4th place. I did see, I'm pretty sure it's the driver that's just hopped out of the car, given the encouragement to get the lap times in there, get pumping those lap times to see if they can close it on Pottinger. Gap between 3rd and 4th place at the moment, 9.1 seconds when they crossed the line last time.
Yeah, so see whether they are able to close up. The laps came out by a full second last time through, so the gap's going the wrong way really. So how long have we got to go? We've got 9.5 minutes of the session still remaining. We've got Jordan Honeybone leading the way by nearly 11 seconds, and bearing in mind where he's come from the starting grid to get there, it was a really good first half of the race. He has eased his pace a little bit, as you would expect, as tyres start to wear off a little bit and overheat in these conditions, and drivers start to feel a little bit of fatigue and just back things off slightly just to have contingency in there. His lap times have backed off, but he can't afford to back off by too much, because the race leader has done a 1 minute 15.3 as good as that time through. It was a 1 minute 14.3 from Steve Summers in 2nd place, so the lead advantage is down to 10 seconds.
Yeah, second a lap at that pace though is not going to be too alarming for Honeybone there as he looks to try and wind down this race. He'll be certainly keeping an eye on it. I'm sure Ray down there will also be keeping an eye on that lap time, but it is just a case of making sure that car gets home in these latter stages. And we'll see what can happen in the last 8 minutes and 20 seconds. We just had confirmation there that car number 120, Sam Pearce, his transponders just stopped working. It's not going to play ball anymore. Yeah,
it happens sometimes, doesn't it? The transponder just doesn't have enough charge in and it packs up. So wait to see. Nothing as yet. The car number 76 has responded to the black flag. Having said that, bang on cue, into the pit lane it comes. Conversations going on between Paul Golding, who is one of our clerks here, and driver, as to what has occurred that's brought about that black flag, but there's no obvious indications on our timing screens as to why we see the car of, would it be Alex Baldwin, into the pit lane. He's back out though, conversation had, air cleared, off you go.
Yeah, off you go for the last 7.5 minutes, and to be fly on the wall in that conversation, hey?
Well, it might be either a subtle pit lane infringement, or it might have been the fact that, he probably didn't, I don't know, maybe the seatbelts were correctly done up and tightened up before he pulled away, and all of those things. That's why we have officials down there checking that the pit stops occur correctly and safely, more importantly.
Yeah, that's the most important part, safely as well. Making sure the seatbelts are done up properly, etc, etc. Making sure we race safely. You want to try and get as close to 2 minutes as possible, but the officials are there to make sure you do it
correctly. Can't cut corners, can you? No,
yeah.
No, can't cut corners when it comes to that. So lead advantage was down to 10 seconds last time through. Jordan Honeybone goes back over the start finish line now, and what is the gap between himself and Steve Summers, who's dealing with a little bit of traffic? So from 10 seconds, I think it's come back out again, has it? No, it's not. It's come down to 9.3, so it's just being chipped away at, but as you say, probably just a case of Jordan Honeybone now controlling the pace, because with 6.5 minutes to go, that's only going to be 3 more laps, including the one that he's on, and the rate of close for Steve Summers is nowhere near enough.
No, not at this point. With, as you say, 6.5 minutes to go, that's roughly 3, maybe 4 laps as well. So at the rate, even at the rate of a second per lap, it's not going to be enough for Steve Summers to close in on that gap. And it's just a case of Jordan Honeybone making sure he takes that Renault Clio to the checkered flag. How is the gap doing? Well, I have to say Adrian Pottinger is doing well in this second stint as well. He's managing to open up that gap between the shared car of Heslop and McEwen, the number 39. 11 seconds is now the gap, and he's lapping 4/10 a lap faster at this stage. So at this point then, Pottinger doing enough to make sure he tries to seal a place on the podium, which, considering his start, he went all the way down to 5th place. He's managed to get his way back onto the podium.
The other car we need to watch out for is, David Alexander was doing so well, wasn't he, with the Black Lotus? Well, Jonathan Mee has now taken over that number 20 car, and I think, again, they lost a little bit of time in the pit stops, but you look at what Jonathan Mee is doing out on track at the moment. He's down in 10th place, but his last lap was 3 seconds quicker than the car ahead. So over the start-finish line goes Jonathan Mee now, and the car is still in 10th place, but he's now just 0.2 of a second behind the Mark Russell Renault Clio, and I would have thought should be able to pick his way through and pass, possibly even on the approach in towards the Wilson hairpin, which is where they'll be heading now. Has the Black Lotus made it through? Yes, I think it has. I think it's now through and ahead of the Renault Clio. So yeah, another place gain there, up to 9th for the Black Elise.
Yep, and making their way up the order and trying to make some late moves as well is Jonathan Mee, as he gets his way now back up into 9th place, as you said there.
Yeah, what's the next car after that? Next car after that would be Stuart Donovan's class-leading Toyota Celica, and that's only just up the road from it as well, actually. So the black and light green Toyota Celica heading out of Agostini and up towards Hamilton. Black Lotus bearing down on it, that would also be 4th position as well. And then John Line is only just up the road, and that would be 4th position as well. So the Black Lotus is flying at the moment, going quicker than all of those cars ahead of it.
Yeah, in towards Oggies, and now back onto the power. There goes the Lotus up the inside of the Celica, then that looked like, and through in towards Williams, on towards the Bentley straight. Yeah, it's got some real turn pace right now.
It has. It must have just had a slow pit stop. You can't see the pit stop time of it anymore now, but I think it was probably just a slow lap time from that car when it came into the pits. What was it? Let's just have a quick look. Oh, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely. It was a minute slower than anything else. So yeah, much slower. That's where the time was lost.
Yeah, and it's just about now trying to make up for lost time. 60 seconds of it to try and make up out on track is never an easy thing to do, especially when you've only got about 20 minutes to do it. But Jonathan Mee doing his best to get his way back up the order and seeing if he can get some positions. Yeah,
I think he's now starting to try and attack John Line, is he? Yeah, the little Black Lotus behind the BMW in the hands of the champion from last year. So this will be for 7th and 8th positions. But after that, I think that's probably as good as it's going to get, because the next car is the Honda that's just gone over the start-finish line, the number 70 Honda that Justin Roberts shares with Michael Heath. So Jonathan Mee, another place gained, and he's now got another 9, nearly 10 seconds to make up and only 3 minutes to do it on the next car. So I think that's probably going to be it for the recovery drive. But either way, trying to make amends for the time that was lost in that slowish pit stop for the number 20 Lotus.
Yeah, and it's not bad either, because I think that's 7th in class, 7th overall. It's not a bad day to try and recover from that pit stop, and it's a good drive, a good recovery drive at the very least from Jonathan Mee.
The thing we probably need to do is keep an eye on what's going on in Class D as well, because over the start-finish line there goes the Ford Fiesta that leads Class D. Dave Connell in the Mazda right behind it. So Dave Connell, last couple of laps, has been a little bit quicker than the Ford Fiesta. Dave Connell, second in Class D, 1.5 seconds behind the class-leading number 38 Ford Fiesta, just set his best individual lap of the race so far, 2 minutes 19.4. That was a second quicker than the Fiesta he's trying to hunt down.
Yeah, so keep an eye on him in the closing stages, of course. We only have about 2 minutes 15 on the clock, and there is the 138 being taken back to the paddock, and unfortunately there for Alan Bull. Of course, he was involved in that early scupper earlier on with Adrian Pottinger going in towards on the exit of Coram, and unfortunately the end of the race has fallen on that car.
Just having a quick look where the wins in Class D have gone so far this year. At Silverstone, the win in Class D went the way of Henry Wright and John Glover. And Kevin Glover. I don't think we had any Class D cars. Did we have a Class D car at Pembrey? Yes, we did. can't tell where the Class D win went at Pembrey. Looking at this here, I think it might have been John Dundee possibly that picked up the win in Class D. No, it wouldn't have been. It would have been Carlet's not here this weekend. It would have been Jack Sycamore and Aidan Hills that picked up the win in Class D. So we'll have to keep an eye to that next time through. Where is Jordan Honeybone on track? Well, he's on lap number 19 as things currently stand, and is enjoying a 10.6 seconds lead between himself and the rest of the field. And after that mega start, which saw him chip away and work his way into the podium places and then pick up the lead of the race, he's not really looked back since, has he?
No, not at all, and starting from 7th place as well to get their way back up to the lead of the race. It's been a really, really good day for Jordan Honeybone here, as he should be making his way through and towards Coram, and now making his way onwards then towards the final corner at Murray's. Yeah, it's been a great drive for him, and when he crosses the line, he should have one more lap to go. One more lap, and just shy of 3 miles to complete to take the victory, but a lot can happen in 3 miles.
A lot can happen in 3 miles. Here comes a Class D battle over the start-finish line now. It is absolutely nose to tail. The Ford Fiesta under enormous pressure from Dave Connell, who at the wheel of the Mazda is going to try and sneak up the inside as he heads in towards Ritchie's corner. Nose sweeping right across the nose of it goes the Henry Wright and Kevin Glover car. So those two cars are almost together for the lead of Class D, and are both being sort of bared down on before too much longer by the overall race leader Jordan Honeybone. So it could be their last lap of the race if they get lapped again by the race leader.
Yeah, and it's a case of Jordan Honeybone trying to find his way through, get the lap redone, but how much will that interfere with their battle in the Class D battle? That'd be great to watch. Let's hope Jordan Honeybone decides to stay out of it.
Well, the Ford Fiesta will want this to be the last lap of the race because it's one less lap to do defending. Dave Connell will say, no, I want another lap so I can roll my sleeves up and have another opportunity. So the two cars for the lead of Class D just turning their way into and out of Agostini now. The white Ford Fiesta with the orange and the blue stripes to it, under pressure from the largely silver and blue Mazda MX-5, but the one with the hard top to it and the big rear wing on it as well. They are fighting away for the lead of Class D, and Dave Connell has had to work hard to catch that Ford Fiesta because he was the best part of 2-3 seconds behind after the pit stops, and he just has been chipping away, and is almost there now.
Almost there, and now they make their way on towards the Bentley Straight for that Class D battle, and we'll see how that all plays out. I think there was a track limit warning. It was for the Rebihar machine. Paul McHugh and William Heslop picking up a track limit warning, that black and white warning flag, on the last lap of the race.
And I don't think Jordan Honeybone is going to catch them, so I think the Class D cars will avoid being lapped by the race leader for, what will that be, I think for the first time, and therefore they will have, after this lap, another lap to try and work out who is going to win Class D. Let's just have a quick look here. They come back into sight now, round through Coram and up towards the braking area for Murray's. Yeah, Jordan Honeybone is not going to catch them, is he? So they're going to have another lap to try and work out as to who's going to win Class D, because our race leader for the final time is just turning his way through Murray's, and it is going to be a win, the first of the season in the MSV Trackday Championship for the Apple Car Centre Renault Clio. Jordan Honeybone scheduled to share the car with Dad Ray, but he's done all of the hard work on his own. Jordan Honeybone comes through to win the third race of the season, but the Class D battle can still continue as it heads round through Ritchie's corner. However, it does look as though Dave Connell in the Mazda has just dropped that little bit further away this time. So Jordan Honeybone claims the win, 10.5 seconds ahead of Steve Summers, who at the wheel of the light blue Lotus comes through now to finish in second position. Wait the arrival of Adrian Pottinger, who's there in third place. He's just turning his way through the final corner and about to accelerate his way towards the checkered flag. Fairly easy second part of the race for Adrian Pottinger because he's nearly 30 seconds ahead of the the fourth place car, which is going to be the Honda Civic of Paul McHugh and William Heslop. But what of the Class D battle, I hear you ask? We'll have to wait and see. John Lyne struggling, actually, our champion, struggling for pace coming out of Agostini. Has that car maybe run a little bit too close on fuel? And also Dave Connell seems to be struggling because all of a sudden he has fallen hugely back from the Class D leading Ford Fiesta that he was squabbling away with.